So, today's talk is called Keeping a True Lent. And I know I'm a little late into the game. I don't care. Bring these up when you're willing to practice them. And a couple of weeks ago I was not so willing. I was clearly not willing. But I heard an acronym this week for Lent. Let's eliminate negative thinking. That's nice, isn't it? That's a nice one, isn't it? Let's eliminate negative thinking. However, let's become very conscious and aware of this right away. Being guilty over having a negative thought is a negative thought. Oh, I shouldn't be so negative. Oh, I should. And it's like, well, then I'm just back in the same pit of negativity. So I've never left it, really. And so to be aware, oh yeah, let's eliminate negative thinking, but it only happens one thought at a time. And to be conscious that it is a desire. And what would the desire be for? Why would you want to let go of negative thinking? Anybody?
Peace.
Peace, okay. Joy.
Room for something that's not negative.
Okay. Okay, good. Creating space. Anybody else?
Letting God in.
Letting God in, great.
To live in the truth.
To live in the truth.
Because it feels good. To feel better.
Because it feels good. Does it always? Does it always? No, and what did you say, Nancy?
I said to feel better.
To feel better. Yeah, see, almost everything we do is to create a feeling. It's either to create a feeling or to eliminate a feeling, rather than to become aware of being. Being, in a state of being, is the state of I amness. It is a state of realization of my oneness with God, no matter what is going on. And I think I can speak for a lot of us, we're rather addicted to our feelings. We're addicted to our sensations. And so we keep trying to create a new one. Even in our God realizations, our realizations of oneness. Oh, that was amazing. Oh, how do I do it again? Let me shoot it up my veins again. So because I want that feeling, I want that God feeling, and it's almost as if we assume God is absent if we don't feel happy. If we're not gleeful. And there's a thing, oh, I gotta get God back, as if. And that's where we really need to come to a sincere realization. God is never absent from us. God isn't a person who walked across the room or town. God didn't go on vacation. God is not absent ever. Why? How do I know this? Because God is presence itself. And if it's presence itself, it has to be present. God is never absence. God is presence. G-O-D is presence. Therefore, always present and active, no matter what is going on. And so, to rethink our thoughts, that if something quote-unquote bad is happening, then God is somehow absent, that's not true. That is absolutely not true. We're just not taking advantage of the joy of God, the peace of God, the love of God. The very isness that God is. We're just not taking advantage of it when we take on guilt, when we take on stuff, as Kenneth just sang. Well, not only when we take it on, when we hold on to it. When we insist, this is bad, this is wrong. When we do that, we're not absent from God. We're not far from God. We cannot not be with God. We're just misusing God. And we're misusing our divine mind. So letting go, or let's eliminate negative thinking, is not a new opportunity for guilt. Now, when we were doing the 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity class, I invited everyone for 21 days to do something other than criticize. Gossip, criticism, and complaining. I encouraged us all to eliminate that, or fast from it, that's the word I'm looking for, to fast from gossip, criticism, and complaining for 21 days. And in the past, for Lent, it's 40 days. And so, I didn't make it even one day. I want to be very clear on this. Not one day. In fact, I don't remember anyone testifying in class that they made it through an entire day. Did you? Oh, good for you. One person in class said, "Oh, I haven't complained yet," and then she had about 4 or 5 in class that she wasn't even aware of. What?
I made it through a week.
Did you really? Good for you. Oh, good for
And then it
you.
all fell apart.
But you see, you start to recondition the cells. For every complaint you do not entertain, that you do not express. Now, I get it. Some things hurt. They hurt emotionally, they hurt mentally, they hurt physically. And we need some way to express it. And I get all that. I do get all that. But there's the other part. There's the other thing that is habitual. To look at the world and see what is wrong. To look about you and tell yourself everything that is wrong. And therefore, how bad you are. And I want to explain this again. In our child's mind, and I'm not saying we say this out loud to ourselves because most of us don't understand. If I see bad, I am bad. Because how could I know what bad is if I weren't bad myself? And that's what the child in us is thinking. And that's what the little child looks around, he or she looks around and sees the world. And they don't know, they don't know they're calling themselves bad. But in our psyche, I am what I see. And that's why it's lousy when parents teach the world what is bad rather than what to acknowledge and where to go. There's a difference. You know, I was threatened as a child, the boogeyman, what have you. And it was not kind of those people. I call them my parents. It was not kind of them to try to scare me into submission, to try to frighten me in the world so that everyone became suspect. Anyone in a car became suspect. The police were out to get me. Supernatural beings at holiday time were out to get me and catch me. And so I ended up being afraid of them all, and yet having to look up to them all, and they taught me that God was out to get me. And most any of us that grew up in a traditional church was taught somewhere that God was out to catch you doing something bad. And if you didn't repent very quickly, you were going to go to someplace bad. And it's nasty. And it's why I like unity. Unity taught me I was good. There was no bad place to go. There was only confusion. I could miss the mark in my confusion. But see, it's not just me. Those I love can miss the mark because they are confused about who they are. And I must, if I am to stay aright, remember, oh, they're forgetting. They are forgetting. I did my show in Palm Springs a couple weeks ago, and it was a mixed bag of good. I'm not going to tell you the name of my new memoir from the stage, but there are certain words you don't say in Palm Springs, I found out. And some friends close to me felt the need to tell me everything they thought about my show immediately following it, because they had feelings or sensations that they could not tolerate. And I took it very personally for several days. And I'm just now that I'm back and now that I'm doing all this stuff, I was in a lot of pain physically, so that kind of blocked my awareness too. And so but I have to they were scared. They were the same things I was in many ways. How do we come to a conclusion that we're all beloved children of God? You know, how can I turn what I felt was a negative experience into a learning experience, into a teaching opportunity for them and myself? How do I be the light in action? How do I be the light in action? You know, it would be much easier for me to fast from gossip, criticism, and complaining if my purpose is to be the light in action. I cannot be the light while spreading darkness, nor can I spread darkness while being the light. Isn't that wonderful? I cannot spread darkness while being the light. And what does the light do? It shines the truth on everything. It shines that which is not. What's the word? I don't know. It shines that. The light shines this. I have no idea. The light shines the light so that I may see what cannot be changed. And let me tell you, my upset is never what cannot be changed. The love is what cannot be changed. My understanding of love can be changed, but the love itself cannot be changed. So if I put the light on with the intention of seeing love, then I will see reality. Otherwise, I just see my story. And my story, I'm not going to call my story bad. I'm not going to call anybody's story bad. But if you're not having that light in your gut, as I call it, that light down here that says God is and therefore I am, you gotta let go of the story, or otherwise you're just going to be in confusion. And I'm willing to bet everybody in this room at some point has found the misery of confusion, has experienced the misery of confusion, and yet will try to get out of that misery of confusion with more misery of confusion, trying to solve the problem with the same thing that created the problem. Now, if we see the problem and we look for God in it, then we'll find a solution. God, I'm looking right at the problem here. I don't want to look at anybody's face because I don't want you to take it personally. But I want to see the light. I want to see the light in this. I want to know the truth so that I don't tell myself anything untrue about this, to start getting hooked on those sensations that hurt me rather than that heal the world. And I gave all of us today a handout. We're not going to read this whole thing this morning, but I do want you to take it home and I want you to read it several times. It's written by Unity author Georgiana Tree West, who wrote the foreword in Charles Fillmore's book, How to Keep a True Lent. I love that Jesus revealed that fasting, like prayer, is a matter between man and his maker. He told his disciples that they were to make no show of their fasting. And so, I'm going to ask all of us today to begin a fast, at least until Easter. See, we only have 2 weeks. 2 weeks. A fast. Go within to prayer and ask, God, what is my fast to be? Shawn recommends a fast from gossip, criticism, and complaining. Is that the fast for me? Would it be such a deprivation to not gossip, criticize, or complain for the next couple of weeks? And if I do, to forgive myself. If I fall short of the mark for a moment, to say, oh, I fell short of the mark. I guess I complained a little more than I thought I did, but now I'm back on the fast. Thank you, God, for reminding me. I love it. He said, appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy God which is in secret, and thy God which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. And he gave the same instruction concerning prayer. Prayer and fasting then are matters of communion with God, not matters of public display. See, it won't help us to go out into the world and say, I'm fasting from gossip, criticism, and complaining. Aren't I good? It's not an outfit that you're talking about. It's an outfit that you will show, you and I both, will show to the world through our behaviors rather than our description. If someone should say, there's something different about you, what's up? Then feel free to tell them, well, I'm doing this fast. But if they don't ask, just continue to let your light shine. Just continue to let your light shine. They are transactions in mind. It is of no use to go through the outer form if the feeling of communion with God is not established. In abstinence from worldly things, the mind must be filled with thoughts of God, else there is no spiritual value in fasting. I guess I am going to read it all. If we would lose the bands of wickedness, as the Bible said, we must learn to fast from all unworthy thought and feast on the good and the true. And I just love that. Fast from all unworthy thoughts. You know, the criticism of self, the hatred of those on the highway, the hatred of those on Facebook, and most importantly, the hatred of self. And if you're not sure, just don't do anything except sit and pray. If you're not sure where you stand with this, just sit and pray for a moment and ask, do I move forward with this word, with this action, before I make a public comment in some way about what I think, is wrong? And I get, even with all the violence in the world today, there has to be another way besides violence to cure it, to resolve it. And one could say, well, I'm not violent. I was like, well, that tone was a little violent. Protest in love. Protest in peace. Protest in joy. But protest. Be pro for what you want, not what you don't want. Be pro for what you want, not for what you don't want. Even in one-on-one relationships, those we live with, to be pro for what you want rather than what you don't want. If I were to go home and criticize David about everything I don't like, that's no good. That does not work. We've proven it. Several times over, we've proven it does not work. The other one just feels attacked. But when we ask specifically for what we want, unless one of us decides to take that as an attack when there was no attack there, it's just a stating of preferences, then the room is open for negotiation. And that's what we want, a negotiation of understanding. So, to observe, we must fast from criticism. To observe Lent according to the Spirit rather than the letter, we must fast from criticism and condemnation and feast in brotherly love. Fast from false beliefs in sickness and weakness, and feast on the truth of God's omnipresent, perfect life. Fast from false beliefs in lack and limitation, and feast on the truth of God's bountiful good will. Ideas such as these form an excellent basis for Lenten meditations that help establish permanent spiritual values in heart and mind. One of the most valuable ways of observing the Lenten season is to fast from and loose and let go the belief that men or nations can stand in the way of God's good will for men. Do we hear that? Do we hear that loud and clear? We must let loose and let go the belief that men and nations can stand in the way of God's good will for man. Because how many of us are proclaiming that people have more power than God? How many of us proclaim on a daily basis that people, individuals or groups, have more power than God? We're unity. We're one. There's only one power and one presence as the universe and as my life. God the good, omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. One. That's not just a nice thing to hear on Sundays. Do you believe it or not? And if you believe it, you must start affirming that rather than these evil people are hurting us. One power, one presence. Be the light at work. Telling everybody what is wrong in the world does not make you smarter. We all know what's wrong. We all know what's wrong, and we can all tell each other what's wrong with each other. And that will not shed light on one being here or in the rest of the world. We're here to be the light, speak the light, show the light. So there. So now is the time to affirm the power of the Christ Spirit indwelling in all men everywhere and influencing their thoughts, words, and actions to work for the good of the whole. And let's remember, just because we don't know how it could work doesn't mean it can't. Remember my kitty litter story? No? Okay, I'll tell you. A few weeks ago, I was trying to open a box of kitty litter. Couldn't get that thing open. Oh, it was glued tight. And I'm there, and I said, David, I can't get this thing open. It's always so hard, but today it's impossible. He said, well, could you take on the thought that it could be easy to open a box of kitty litter? I thought, man, I need a lesson at home right now. So I fill up the kitty litter box. I said, wow. He said, could you take on the thought it could be easy to open the box of kitty litter? I said, fine. It could be easy to open the box of kitty litter. And he came over and opened up the box for me. Could that have been easier? And then he showed me this perforated line in the box that I've not known about for 3 years. But you see, that confirmed my belief that things can be easy, and it's not limited to the kitty litter box. Could we take on the thought that world peace could be easy? Could we take on the thought that the restoration of health, mentally, physically, spiritually, could be easy? Could we take on the thought that forgiveness could be easy? This could be easy to forgive. It is possible. It is possible to see love in this, which has scared me up until this date. It could be possible that it could be easy to live easily, effortlessly. I did that on my flights. You know, I saw the weather report, wind and stuff, and I got on all my planes. I said, it could be easy today. Easy traveling, easy timing, and this time, not one thing was amiss. Not one thing. Even the flight on Friday, it left 20 minutes late and got in 10 minutes early. And we're taking off. He said, it's going to be bumpy landing in New York. And I thought, well, Jesus Christ sails me into New York. Jesus Christ, that's my favorite affirmation to fly. Jesus Christ lifts me up, lifts this plane up, and carries us gently. Now, this is not a man I'm talking about. I'm talking about a consciousness. Jesus Christ lifts, although I do see a giant hand picking us up. I envision certain things. Jesus Christ, Charles Fillmore taught me that in the book Jesus Christ Heals. The thought of Jesus Christ can move mountains and create miracles in ways that I could not have before imagined. So I use it a lot. But Jesus Christ lifts me up, or lifts this plane up, and carries us gently and sets us down gently in whatever destination I'm planning for. And if I start to hear a little turbulence, I say, Jesus Christ does it gently. And almost always it settles down very quickly. And so that's what I can tell you. I don't want to hear, but what if it doesn't? So far, that hasn't happened. So don't you try to make my flight bumpy with arguments. We all want to be of some influence in establishing world peace. To do so, we must learn to obey Paul's exhortation. Let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace. Each one of us must be concerned with improving his own life. We must learn to deny our selfish impulses and be obedient to impulses of brotherly love. When we withdraw our attention, interest, and support from the false, I like that. When we withdraw our attention, interest, and support from the false, who knew that the false had our attention and our support? So to pay attention to I'm giving all my attention and all my support to what I don't want. So anyway, because we're powerful people. When we withdraw that, this is true fasting. When we give that same attention, interest, and support to the enduring good, we are feasting on the things of the Spirit, and this is true prayer. When we have truly fasted in the Christ way, we have increased our ability to respond to God's good will. So, let's eliminate negative thinking in the kindest, in the truest, and the most generous way. Let's know that only good can come from this. The very things you want to experience can come from this kind of a fast. The very joy, the very peace, the very health, the very well-being. No, we will not undo what some people have done. except we will. We won't make it not have happened, but we will undo the effects of what we have allowed to happen as a result. And there's the difference. We won't undo the actions, but we will undo the lasting effects of confusion, of forgetfulness. And that's what we want. Let's grow up and realize that. It's not about making them pay for what they did, whoever they are, including ourselves. It's about undoing the lasting effects as of right now. How many of you would forgive everyone and everything if you knew you could be well today? If you could be secure financially today? If you no longer had to be filled with hatefulness and forgetfulness and guilt and shame, would you give up your unforgiveness?
Yes.
If you knew? And there we go. One brother says yes. So I have two. We have two. We have three. We have four. Well, do it. Do it and find out. That's the thing. Do it today and find out. So it is.